Ghost Cult Magazine welcomes in multi-instrumentalist and man of many projects, JD McGibney. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well, Keith. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
It's weird on a Sunday. Can't party as much. But
I know it's like you have Friday and Saturday to like party to the actual Halloween, and you have to like recover, on actual Halloween.
Indeed. And then I'm like most people, I celebrate all month long, and I did some fun Halloween things this weekend, knowing that I have work early Monday. So just, we'll dial it back. There was a couple of shows local to me that I thought about going to, and I was like, it's going to run late. I'm going to be dragging ass tomorrow. I can't.
Yeah, got to be responsible from time to time.
Sometimes. How about you? How's your Halloween month or weekend been?
Well, it's been pretty chill, laid back. I'm currently in like the middle of like suburban, almost nowhere, Ohio. So it's very like quiet in general, like all the time. And like even like today, like I haven't even seen like that many trick-or-treaters out in the neighborhood. So I'm wondering if it's, I'm expecting like a cow or two and like a mask and like a, like a Superman cape to like walk by, but like so far it's been pretty quiet.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm in an apartment building. I believe there are some children about, and maybe their parents will wheel them around and collect candy. As I mentioned, the aforementioned, I ate out all the good stuff from the mixed $10 bag of things, and unfortunately, the kids are getting the leftovers.
Listen, that's all they.
You got your whole
really
life to
need.
Get disappointed, kids. You're probably too young to understand anyway. You don't know, you don't miss what you never had. To quote the movie The Rocker with Rainn Wilson. Anyway.
Oh yeah.
I love that movie. I don't know why. Like there are other movies that are, obviously better, but like for whatever reason, the movie's a lot of fun.
It reached your heartstrings just the right way.
I'm a former band dude, so it totally reached my heartstrings. I was like, I remember all those vibes. But you're a current band dude. You are a dude of many bands, and obviously you have your new project, which is your self-titled kind of project and Friends, which is really cool. You're doing this incredible. You got a new single, Voices in the Dark, and there's a video playthrough that's amazing. I can't believe the things you do.
Thank you.
You've been in a bunch of bands and you have a bunch of other musical projects ongoing, but how did this particular project get formed? And it's formed for a particular purpose, which I like.
This project, the JD McGibney and Friends, kind of came about as like as I was having like this kind of like, for lack of a better term, spiritual awakening this past year. For anyone that's followed me on like social media, like I'm pretty vocal about like, what I've gone through with like my own mental health and like the struggles that I've gone through and whatnot. And I've recently expressed that I've started going to therapy for the first time in like my entire life, like earlier this year, and just did a lot of like deep like searching through like the help of like a professional to like kind of like guide me down like this is how I should do this in a healthy manner. And I just came to the realization that music has always been a pillar for me. Like I was always aware like it was important and it helped me like kind of put things into perspective. But like I realized just how important it was to the fact that like, it helped me center myself, but it also ended up being my career path. So I wanted to start a project that actively gave back to the mental health community. Just because that's kind of the connection that I have with music is like that positive connection with mental health by donating money to the Rock Foundation specifically, which I recently have established like an actual partnership with. And this track that you just mentioned, Voices in the Dark, also donates to NAMI, which is another organization. But I wanted to include friends that I'd made throughout my career, just people that I really respect, people that I hold dear to my heart, just because I wanted the music, I wanted the art part of it to have a little bit more of an emotional context other than just like what I was feeling or what I felt. I wanted to have that camaraderie, and I wanted it to reflect the fact that like I want this project to kind of inspire people to start talking about their own experiences, things that they've went through, things that they've gone through, and kind of just show that it's okay for us to share what we've gone through. It's okay for us to like not be okay from time to time. So that's kind of the origin of JD and Friends.
Nice. We can shorten it to JD and Friends. Cool.
JD and Friends. We don't need to say the whole spiel.
Right. Yeah. I'm from the East Coast originally. We nickname everything and everybody. That's how I got to be Keefy. Like it's just that's how it happened. Just like you're now Keithy, it doesn't matter if you're Keith or not. And there's also like 20 Keiths, so in my area, so where that I came from, so it's like you're now Keithy. So, yeah, man, hugely important mental health awareness, especially right now. I appreciate your candor, first of all. Thank you for opening up. It's hard. It's hard to put yourself in a public space and talk about your personal, private problems. Charity work is hugely important, and mental health awareness has never been more important in human history. And I'm a huge, big Ghost Cult is a big supporter of You Rock. We've done some integrations with them and some, promoting of some of their events. And Nami is another great one. And there's a bunch of other things. And we always put that to the forefront. Actually, every week we do a new show. Invariably, my sign off is it's a tough time in the world. So take care of each other and take care of yourselves. And I mean,
beautiful sentiment.
I mean, well, I mean it. We've lost people. I've had struggle with my own mental health issues. I have terrible anxiety problems. I think people know this. I overcame just like I'm sure you had to. I've overcome some of it. There's still a lifetime of stuff to unwrap and work out. I never.
How it goes.
It is usually how it goes. But I also love people, and as much as sometimes people irritate the shit out of me and annoy me, I genuinely believe that most people want to be good, contribute to society, be helpful. You're supposed to judge a society based on how you treat its most helpless people. And so mental health is a thing. For years we just didn't pay attention, and now it's wild. In this last couple of years, I think especially the isolation of everything, and you talked about being kind of a more remote place, but even in the big city, I felt very isolated and locked in my house for months at a time. So,
especially like everything with like COVID and literally everyone being forced into like quarantine, like that really, literally being forced into a room or like a confined space where like, even if you have roommates, like you're kind of forced to be with yourself for extended periods of time. And like that really just gets to you. And like, a lot of industries completely shut down. So you didn't even have busy work. So it's just like, what do I do to keep myself busy? And after a while, people start really like getting inside their own heads and like analyzing their lives. And sometimes, issues with like anxiety pop up because you just overthink, everything just snowballs. So I agree with you 100%. The past like, year and a half, 2 years, it's just been really eye-opening for like the entire like mental health community and the issue that has been around it.
Right. And I hope it continues to stay at the forefront, thanks to people like you making it sort of a part of your mission, at least project to project. It's on your website, there are links. It's really helpful. A lot of great, useful information. We'll plug all that in the description, but usually we do that anyway for all bands, and artists, but I'm really thrilled that this is like baked into what you do. And I thank you because I think it's super important.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the kind words and, the praise. It's, like I said, music has just been very important to me in general since I picked up guitar, since I first fell in love with music as like a teenager. As everyone goes through like their angsty stages, but like I personally feel fortunate that I was able to come across music when I did, because it stuck with me as I was starting to really develop, what I later identified as anxiety, and it just helped with like basically like a pressure release valve for me. And realizing how important it was, I feel like I just naturally like to help people. I naturally like to go out of my way to see if I can lend a hand. So it only makes sense for me to like combine these two things and actually do so in a healthier manner, and something that's a little bit more productive than me just going like person to person going, hey, how can I help? Hey, how can I help?
Right. It's actually taking action. I saw a funny documentary recently about music, abandoned music history, and somebody was like, oh, it's awesome if you want to like protest and be part of a movement, but actually doing stuff is what helps other people, not just we're part of something. You got to actually take action. And that's, that's the crux.
You got to be the change you want to see in the world, as they say.
It's really true. It really is true. And what was, just out of curiosity, before we fast forward to now, what was the thing that made you pick up guitar, or the song, or the riffer, or the person that made you kind of like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do? What was that moment for you?
I know the exact moment. I was in 10th grade. My dad picked me up from high school, and it's one afternoon, rainy, overcast. I remember the weather like completely. We're driving, and on the radio, like on the local like rock station, comes the Primus cover of NIB with Ozzy Osbourne. which is an amazing cover, by the way. I absolutely love it. So that comes on the radio, and I had never heard the song before, like ever. Like that, never heard the original, never heard that, like whatever. So we're driving, song comes on. I'm like, oh, this is really cool. Les Claypool doing the bass solo, and all of a sudden the guitar kicks in. I'm like, oh, I'm hooked. The song goes, and like I'm going on this emotional journey the entire time. And then we pull into our driveway. Car stops. My dad parks, turns off the car, and the song ends. And then right there, before my dad even opened the door, I turned to him and just go, Dad, I want to learn guitar. And that was the moment I was like, I need to do this.
That's amazing. Great song, great cover, great covers album, Nativity in Black, the covers album. There's a few of them. I just saw Primus. Larry is a god. He's incredible. And obviously his history in metal is well known, as well as whatever Primus is, Primus music. Yep. I saw them cover a whole Rush album, which was mind blowing. And
wow.
And Les and Larry even played like Rush instruments. Like Geddy came out with like a black on black Rickenbacker bass with the white pickguard, and Larry had Leifson's guitar from the 70s, the big hollow body. Dude, I was like, fantastic. What is happening?
It's so cool when you see like really like, well-established bands, like iconic bands, like legendary bands, pay like tribute to like even more legendary bands in like such a like a, like a kind of like a fanboy sense, where it's like, oh, these like Primus is like, oh, we look up to Rush, let's be Rush for a little bit, and like they come out and just play that stuff like to that extent with that that kind of visual. And it's wonderful to see that like people that like we idolize also idolize other people that we also idolize. It kind of just creates this sense of like a deeper emotional connection. It's like, oh, we all have like the same feelings around this beautiful thing that we call music.
Right on. And you play a really tasteful style, and you've played across different kinds of bands and different, sub-genres of heavy music. So, of course, I have to ask, like, who were those first heroes back then after you was like, I want to play guitar, and then you did? And then who are people you look up to now still?
Well, my very first guitar icon was actually Santana. And I learned the Phrygian mode without realizing what the Phrygian mode was. And I was like, oh, this is great. And it's funny because I hated heavy metal for like the longest time. I couldn't get into like the gruff vocals and whatnot. And then I ended up going to Ozfest 2004 was my first concert ever, because Black Sabbath, which had become my favorite band, was headlining. From 9 a.m. to 11 p.m., which was heavy metal. And halfway through the first song, which was the first band up, was Bleeding Through at 9 a.m. Something clicked inside my head, and I'm like, oh, I totally get the context of this like yelling, growling thing now. And like the entire day I was just like, this is like the best thing I've ever experienced in my entire life. And going from there, like I got deeper into like Ozzy Osbourne in general, and like Randy Rhoads became like one of my biggest like icons for guitar. Just his playing, his composition, like the fact that he was just, Randy Rhoads. I'm a giant fan of In Flames. I love the fact that like when they write their compositions, it's like the two guitars are speaking with one another and they're telling you a story, and then there just so happens to be lyrics on top of that. Killswitch Engage, they're the reason why I decided to play music professionally. Specifically the song Element of One. Like up until that point, I had never heard that kind of composition between like something so like empowering but like acoustic and really heavy at the same time. Like my mind was blown hearing that. I'm like, I need to do that for the rest of my life.
I hear you, man. Those are great. That's some great nods right there. I also love Killswitch, and I love that song, and I love that the whole arc of their career. And
it's such a great album. Alive or Just Breathing.
Yeah. Oh my God. It's never gonna die. Man. Is it 20 years?
Never.
Is it 20 years next year? Oh my goodness.
Jesus. When did we get old?
I've been old for a long time, my friend. But it's better than the alternative. You stop getting old, you're dead. So like, I don't want to.
That's true.
I don't want to be gold. I used to be like, oh, don't get old. It sucks. And then it's like, wait a minute. If you stop getting old, you're done. You're done. That's the end of the journey.
How you doing today? I'm above ground.
I'm here. We're all here. But yeah, and Killswitch couldn't be nicer guys. Also, like,
oh yeah,
a bunch of nicest people ever, present and former members. in my
They
opinion.
seem just like the happiest group of guys to just be around. Like even just watching them on stage, watching them in interviews, or just like them goofing around. They're just always having fun.
Indeed. And I met Joel's parents once at a show and they were
Oh,
adorable.
wow.
So that's just on top of everything else. It's like if you had parents that supported you to play music as well, you'd be so lucky. They were like absolutely wonderful with their shirts on, their metal shirts on, and like there to see you in the middle of winter at that particular
really
gig. So it was really great. And they try. I think
That's
they
an awesome
followed
story.
it. I got many of those, but more about you. So Voices in the Dark, to take it up through today, this new single, and it's kind of charity driven and focused. You have this, it's on streaming everywhere, which is awesome. It's out for about a week now. By the time this airs, it'll be out for a while. And I love the playthrough video, and playthrough videos to me are like evergreen content for musicians, because someone is going to discover you tomorrow and want to know how you did that thing. And you do have, like I said, a very lyrical style of playing. So it's really cool. In terms of making videos like that, what is your approach to kind of just highlighting technicality? You're you seem like a very humble dude. So it's like, I know you're good and you're good, but like your approach seems just very chill.
Well, thank you very much for the kind words and the compliments. It's very much appreciated. I mean, truth be told, I feel like a lot of artists who are in the limelight are very like, oh yeah, no, like, I'm good, I'm confident, but like I feel like I'm good enough to do what it is that I do, but I wouldn't necessarily like say that I feel like I am the next Joe Satriani, if that makes any sense. Like, I know that I can do what I can do, and I feel like something inside of me needs to get the music out. So like I create music. So like my approach to writing is like what it is. I need to like tell a story through my guitar of how it is that I'm feeling. So that's my approach to like composition wise. When it comes to making like a playthrough video, my goal is to try and capture the most genuine performance that I can give. So that's why there's like, like the body shots and whatnot, and like, me making all like the weird guitar faces, because I feel like that's really like the important thing of that video. It's like, what is it that the musician or the musicians, if there's multiple people, what is it that they're feeling while they're playing that? And yeah, there's shots of like the guitar and whatnot, because it's nice to have like the visual breaks. And I know like whoever's watching a playthrough video is gonna be like, oh, let me watch what they're doing here. But for me, the most important thing is I want to capture the visual of what it is that I'm feeling playing, in that moment.
Right on. And and everybody loves guitar solo faces, right? Especially guitar faces, like like everybody loves that.
Just take them out of context and put them on like weird memes, and it's always just like, what is going on with that guy's face?
There it is. There it is. The memes tell no lies. And so you got, not only in this project, but in your other projects, you work with a plethora of great artists. So this particular new song, you have the Chen from Orphan Land, which is great. And how did you get connected to work together?
I met him a couple years ago. I'd filled in on guitar for the band Voodoo Kung Fu back in 2017, I believe. And they were Voodoo Kung Fu was the opening band on a tour package with Orphan Land and Pain, and then Voodoo Kung Fu. So I met him like basically the moment I walked onto the tour bus for that tour. He was like one of the first people I met when I got there. And within 5 minutes, I was like, I'm going to be friends with this guy because he's hilarious. And he very quickly just became like one of my favorite human beings on the planet. Man's got a heart of gold. He's always smiling. Even in like the darkest of like times, he always has a positive outlook. And, I feel like he inspires me to just want to be a better person anytime I talk to him. So, basically from the moment I met him, until like now, we've stayed really good friends. And when I decided to do this, he was like the first person I thought of to be like, hey, you know what? I want to do this thing. And I really love you as a human being. Do you want to, help kick this whole project off? And he's like, I would love to.
That's really sweet. I feel like Orphan Land is one of the most underrated bands in the world. They're huge everywhere but America.
They totally are. They're amazing. They're amazing.
They really are like a huge band, like a headline band at festivals, sometimes almost like top of the bill. And they're not well known here except for diehard fans. I'm sure that those tours are pretty
Oh
good.
yeah.
I saw that tour, not that particular tour, but I've seen them before live here. So I know that their shows are packed and people buy the merch and they're well known,
Oh
but I
yeah.
don't see it translate to chatter, or whatever that means.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you. I discovered them. I discovered the band back in like college by accident, like completely by accident. Like I was in FYE, like buying CDs back when, that was a thing that we did. And their album just happened to be in the wrong place. And I was like, oh, what is this? But like it was Mabul, and like the album art just stood out to me. I'm like, oh man, I love this. And then I scanned it because FYE had those little like scanny things so you could sample it. And like from the first like sample, I'm like, all right, this is awesome, I'm just gonna buy this. And then from then on, I just was like addicted to that band. So
Amazing.
like getting actually just going back to like the theme of kind of like idolizing musicians and whatnot, they're like one of the first bands that like I had been a fan of literally since I was like almost a kid. And then I was like, oh wow, I'm like playing with these people like as part of the same tour package. Like it was kind of a surreal moment.
And then of course you have Payne. So Peter from Hypocrisy is also there. And that
And then
guy's
there's
nuts.
that too.
I've interviewed him randomly twice this year. So we've had a lot of FaceTime, me and that guy.
He's such a nice guy. He is like so down to earth. Like it's weird because he is like, he's very much like the rock and roll, like let's go out and party and have like fun. But at the same time, he's so chill and laid back. So like watching the two dynamics at the same time, it's like there's no other person on the planet that is like Peter.
Totally true. And Peter's one of the few people who will like literally call out where he feels he has failed or not failed or just didn't live. We were talking about the Gimme Shelter cover he did recently, and he was like, I actually think I did it. He was like, I think I did a bad job. I'm so surprised you like it. I was like, you're surprised I like it? It's killer. He's like, I don't like the vocals. I wish I had not done it. I was like, oh my gosh, that's something. Everybody, like you, the music business, especially rock and metal, is like Bull Durham, right? I'm up here trying to do my best. I just want to help the team any way I can. You say like, this is the best record I've ever made. I worked really hard at this. I'm appreciative of anything. But he's like, yeah, this shit sucked. I didn't like how I did. I'm finding fault with my mix. I'm like, what?
Yeah, he's such a humble guy. So and like humble. He's like the fact that he's able to like not let all the the legendary status that he's developed get to his head, I think is really admirable. And like he's probably like, now that you're pointing it out, he's probably one of the most like down to earth like people I've ever been on tour with. Like the least rock and roller, if that makes sense. Like he's literally just like, he'll talk to everybody, he'll talk to anybody, about anything. He loves people, he loves what he does. And when we were doing it, his son was filling in on drums, Sebastian, and he was just like the happiest man ever because he's doing what he loves, hanging out with people that he enjoys, and he's got his son with him. So he was just like, yeah, happy as a pig in, the pigsty, as they say.
Right on. Let me ask you a question now. Do you envision JD and Friends growing into a routine project where you do these tracks progressively over time? Would you put this into an album? Do you think this is something you could put together like a touring band to be able to replicate songs with guest appearances? What are your thoughts on that?
Those are a lot of really good questions. At the moment, the idea that I kind of just have is just to kind of like put these songs out periodically as singles and kind of just like work with people like as I'm going around and kind of just making sure that the conversation is being had about just like mental health in general. And like, being a musician, a lot of the people that I've met from just working, people that I've known just like casually who are musicians who don't do it professionally, there's a lot of relation that everyone has through their own personal struggles with mental health and not necessarily having a healthy outlet. So my goal is mainly just to make sure that like these songs happen and this project happens with a focus of just getting people to share their stories. So this way everyone else around us starts joining in as well. But I would absolutely love to do like a live performance and just do maybe like a one-off kind of thing, or maybe do like a short tour and be like, hey, let's get a couple of people together and let's go and do this. I think that would be fantastic. In that case, if it ever did turn into like a live thing, I would definitely want to find a way to make it so that we can help raise funds for like, You Rock Foundation as well. So this way it's, giving back even more, through like a physical setting.
Perfect. I love it. On top of this current project, you also have been in a wide array of things that are pretty fun. I want to know if you want to just kind of like, just to make people a little bit aware of actually where you've come from up to now. Like you've had your name attached to a few very cool things.
Yeah, I've definitely done one or two things in my career. The first and foremost thing has just been my what started off as my passion project, which is Angels on the Battlefield. Basically, once I decided to get into music like full time, make that my career, Angels on the Battlefield became like my artistic outlet. So like I would do all like the business stuff, but like I wasn't really focusing like what I should have like business wise into that. I was just kind of creating, giving myself that, like I said, pressure release valve. So that's kind of how that developed. More recently, I've decided to actually apply the business that I've learned in the almost decade that I've been doing this, and bring that to life. And I'm actually doing that right now, and I have a couple of people that have recently joined, so it's a full band. Like Jason Klein from Butcher Babies is playing bass, William Learman, who plays drums for Voodoo Kung Fu, is playing drums, and then Chris Wersig, who's a film and TV composer, is playing keyboards and doing a bunch of orchestration. And then Angels on the Battlefield is also going to be tied to basically helping to partner up with U Rock Foundation, and it's going to be a continuation of the mission of just getting people to start seeing the topic of mental health in a more positive light and more less taboo light, I should say.
Perfect. I love it. Any other fun things you have going on or coming up in the music world, whether you're producing or get you as a guest somewhere else, or just focusing on these few things right now?
Right now, it's focusing on the JD McGibney and Friends, and more prominently Angels on the Battlefield. Basically, we've been working on putting together a business plan, a budget, and whatnot, and that was definitely a very, very tedious task, and probably the least fun thing people really want to be doing when they're like in a band. But it felt really satisfying after doing all like that business and crunching the numbers, for that, because it's like, oh, I did this thing, and like this, it makes the project more tangible. So like the next step is going out and talking to investors, because it involves this crazy stage show, a dragon, all this crazy stuff.
Amazing. I'm here for it. Bring the dragons. Bring it out. This is going to be amazing. Randomly, I don't know if you're a fan of sci-fi or fantasy, but speaking of dragons, are you a Game of Thrones fan?
I love sci-fi and fantasy, and Game of Thrones, like Song of Ice and Fire, is one of my favorite book series like ever. So yes.
Did you like the show, or did you hate the ending so much that the show ruined it for you?
I very much like the show a lot up until a certain point. I absolutely love the fact that it is I think it's an amazing visual representation of the books. There's a couple of things I would probably change, like the fact that like, Tyrion's supposed to be like missing a nose, but like overall I think they did an amazing job with like the visual representation. Apparently I couldn't speak for a second.
It's okay. I think Dan and Dave had a huge Herculean task to try to do this thing, and I don't want to dog them too badly for finishing somebody's unfinished work is impossible. And the books are so beloved to begin with that I think somebody was going to be mad.
And it's so difficult. Like if you have like source material for like so long, and then you just literally have nothing, and you have to make it up with like a basic idea. It's obvious, and like you're not the flow of the story is not going to be the same because you don't have that source material to give you those emotional beats. So like when they were like, oh, we finished the books, we have to go from here with his guidance, it's like they did something that nobody else had ever done before. So I mean, cheers to them for being brave enough to do it. Like you said, it's a Herculean task to like even try and do that. So the fact that they did it, the fact that we still got really cool visuals, the fact that we still got overall I think a really great story, a very compelling story with a lot of really relatable characters. Like even the villains you like seem like human beings. I think overall that show still gets like 2 thumbs up for me.
Word. And then I'm going to do a terrible Rob Stark impersonation, which is, and old Nan used to say the sky was blue because we lived in the eye of a giant named Macumba. In the very first episode. Spiders 10 feet tall. I'm very excited about this prequel series, as
Oh
you
my
can
God.
tell. And it's got a whole book that's finished. So like it's based on the book and some of the other texts that he's put together, like that greater historical stuff that he's done in some of the preambles and things like that and side books. So I think like there'll be less haters and naysayers and more people just enjoying the show for what it is, not the other things. And I'm pumped.
I agree. Yeah, no, I think this show is going to be a lot of fun because there's so much they cut out of the initial show because of obvious time constraints. There's just so much depth to the world that Martin builds within the books that like there's so much you can do. Like the whole story of like the first men and whatnot, and like that whole history of Westeros. Like you can take that, make its own TV show on top of the Targaryen show that they're making now, and then like there was a couple other like stories there that were thrown in that you could totally make their own TV shows. Like there's so much they can do with this, and I'm just as excited as you are.
Nice. Awesome. Listen, it's been terrific getting to hear your story and talk to you. Thank you so much for this work you're doing. It's not just awesome to listen to, but it's got meaning. And I like that it's got a purpose and it's purpose driven. That's really great. And JD, man, congratulations on this. And we're going to link everything in the description so people will find you and help contribute if they want to. And as I will always say, if somebody out there is watching this in the sound of my voice or our voices, please, there'll be links below where you could get some help if you're not okay. People can DM me personally. I'd much rather help people get, whatever they're dealing with. I'll always direct somebody to some help or give them some help myself. Nothing is more important than this. We really have lost too much and too many already.
I agree. And thank you so much, Keith, for, inviting me onto your platform and having this wonderful conversation. You are an amazing person. Oh. The smile that you've had this entire conversation is infectious, and I can't help but smile back. So thank you for making my entire day.
Well, thanks. I'm going to go watch some scary movies and not smile for a while, but I appreciate you very much, man. Thanks for hanging out with Ghost Cult. I thank you so much.
Rock on.